Welcome to Rising Tides Live. I'm your host, Shawn Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ Media production. Today we are talking about public speaking, the number one human fear. People would rather be dead in a casket than speaking at a funeral. Yes, it is the number one fear. I have been scared of public speaking when I started many years ago, and today we're going to talk about stories, lessons, tips. I'm going to be heading to the Food Fanatics show in Las Vegas with Mike Ungaro, who is another part of this Rising Tides community. He is with San Pedro Fish Market. We are going to be doing a bunch of content for US Foods, and I'm also going to be speaking on social media, on storytelling, on the things that we talk about in this community, the things that we work on. No one's coming to tell your story. The field of dreams is bullshit. Kevin Costner's full of shit. But today we're going to be talking about public speaking, what you've learned talking to the internet, what you've learned making videos for LinkedIn, what you've learned podcasting or being a podcast host, and anything that someone in this community can take away. The other thing we're going to talk about is the stage theories. This is something that I've been working deeply with my media mentor, David Meltzer. You can go and listen to any of those coaching calls I've been building in public. So how do you turn a restaurant into a media company? David Meltzer is my mentor. He's been helping me build what we now consider Cali Barbecue Media, but all of those calls I've recorded, and a lot of what we talk about is the stage theory, meaning that it's never been easier on platforms like LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're using StreamYard now to not only have a conversation with one person, with anyone that shows up into these rooms, but to have it on many different stages. When I go to Food Fanatics show, I'm going to speak in front of hopefully 500 restaurant owners that have some idea of social media, of what they've been doing at their restaurant. But not only will I be speaking to them, I'm also going to be bringing my media team so that we capture the content so that we can publish it on our digital hospitality podcast. We can publish it on YouTube as a YouTube short, as a YouTube long form content. We can publish it on LinkedIn. Therefore, we're reaching not just the 500 restaurant owners that are in the audience, but potentially thousands, tens of thousands of more that will hear this message. So if you're in the community, please join the show. You can go to betheshow.media/rising tides. We want you to be a guest. We have some very exciting news. We're going to be bringing back the Friday show. So Fridays are coming back in September, and we're going to start doing something very cool, and it's going to be based on technology companies in the hospitality space coming and pitching our community their idea. So we want sales decks, sales demos, stories, presentations. Every single Friday, we are going to have a Shark Tank style presentation for any kind of hospitality company that services the restaurant industry, so we can give them feedback on messaging, feedback on story, learn about their products, learn about their services. If you are a company, if you have a technology company and you want this feedback or you want this stage, we're going to start accepting applications. You can email us at podcast@calibbq.media. First of all, we're going to start with tech companies that are in our community, because nothing better than having our community set the bone and set the stage for what we're going to build with these Friday shows. So let's go ahead and welcome the community. Thank you guys for being here. Put your comments onto YouTube, Facebook, or on LinkedIn. We will get to them. Let's go ahead. Spencer, Michael, who are you? What are you working on a Wednesday? And tell us a story about public speaking.
Yeah, thank you very much. Spencer Michael from up in Vancouver, BC, working for Back of House. We are tech consultants. We help customers find the right technology for their restaurants. So I love these Friday show. I will love these Friday shows. I love the idea for this. I will be a regular attendee at these.
Awesome.
And I'll have my scrutinizing pen out, or furiously writing notes and giving feedback. This is a great idea. Yeah, public speaking. I do have a good story. I feel I do, because I was generally a shy kid growing up, and then I broke out of that shortly after kind of graduating high school and became the complete opposite, no longer shy and enjoying things like these, coming on the Cali Barbecue Media forum here, and not being afraid to say have my voice heard. There was a moment where I was a salesperson for a fairly large corporate entity, and we, like any of those, there's a big sales kickoff every year when they bring everybody to usually a nice hotspot. I believe this was in Fort Lauderdale. We all got to go to and have a big kickoff for the year. It was in January. On New Year's Eve, the CEO, who is one of those CEOs who loves to do things like send out mass emails on New Year's Eve giving us instructions, sent out an instruction saying, you will be in a contest on who can give the best presentation on one of the products that we sold. And you're going to be on a team, and I'm going to put the teams together. So ended up on a team. I ended up giving my presentation to the team. They said, you're actually probably the best of us, which was flattering. And so you're going to go on stage. And as you got through, it was a tournament, so it was elimination all the way through. And as we got to the end, the stage got bigger. So now there's 500, 600, maybe 700 people, every single salesperson in the company, as well as all the executives and everybody, all the big wigs. And I'm up on stage with the Britney Spears microphone, clicking slides in behind this massive screen behind me. We ended up finishing 3rd out of 20. And when I got to the finals, I knew, who the heavy hitters are in the company, who the big salespeople are, and who have been in the company since the beginning. So I'm up against them. And you're from who? From where? Who is this guy that I've never heard of that's up on stage? And the feedback I got afterwards, like, you made that extremely difficult for them because they had their preconceived notions about who's going to win this whole thing. And you got up on stage and killed it, and that made it very, very difficult for them. So it was just a matter of just being comfortable. And these are my peers, and they're going to be scrutinizing me, but you're here to see me, and you all wish you were up here right now, but I'm here, and I just went in with confidence and just did my best. So it's really a matter of just throwing your inhibitions out the window and just doing the job and being prepared. That was the number one thing for me. I did not sleep the night before because I was up till the wee hours of the morning, prepping, knowing my cadence, knowing what was going on. So it's fun to be off the cuff, like things like this, and talk. But man, when you are really, really well prepared and you're talking in front of the mirror and you're giving a full presentation multiple times, and then you get up there and you crush it, there's no better feeling than just knowing you got everything done, and you put in the work to make it happen.
Did you tell a story in that presentation?
Yeah. So that was really my portion of it, is really just, here's the sales process. Actually, there was 2 of us up there. One person giving the actual nuts and bolts. Here's the product, the software. And then I was talking about the process and the sales. And I think the way I went about it was I told a story. And we're talking, I think it was just Jim. I'm talking to Jim, and we're going back and forth. Good news, everybody, Jim bought. Let's go down the road of what, after Jim buys from us, what he's going to be doing. So it was a full story all the way through. A fictitious one, but everyone else kind of gave the steps of, here's what you do next. Here's what you do next. I said, let's cut through that and talk about what's going on from the customer point of view as well, and how he's feeling as we're going through this.
It's fantastic. Love it. Great story. Thanks for setting the tone.
Thank
Dean
you.
LeBay. Dean LeBay. Can you hear me, Dean?
Yes. Let me get the microphone off. There we go. Yes. What am I doing? I'm working, trying to generate leads, public speaking. I was blessed in the sense that I was saved at a young age. And anyway, I had an opportunity to go out and speak to churches and give my testimony. And, when you're doing that, the crowd pretty much, they're not going to boo you. But I don't know. It was pretty exciting. And I've never been afraid to talk to anybody. I mean, I'm one of these guys. I asked a quick, my mother told me when I was real young, she said, it's better to stand there and look stupid than to speak up and remove all doubt, which, I understand that, but I think it's changed now because, I don't know, the last 7-8 years, I've become more and more curious about what's going on. And we are living in the greatest times of humanity. There are so many young people that are so smart. They grew up with iPhones and the technology, and they're so far past me. It's not even close. I mean, they're just really brilliant people, and that's what brings me back every week. I'm curious. I want to learn everything and anything I can about the modern technology and it can how it can make our lives better. So anyway, thanks for letting me share.
Appreciate you, Dean. Steven Swiderski, who are you? What are you working on a Wednesday? And tell us a story about public speaking.
Well, first of all, happy to be back. I
Welcome back.
had no cell phone reception for 8 days, which was great.
Congratulations.
My name is Steven Swiderski. I'm the AGM of Cali Barbecue. Currently working on revamping our hospitality and strengthening our morale and just trying to rebuild our restaurant back to where it was before COVID. Public speaking, and we kind of do public speaking every day when we just have a random conversation with people. It's very easy to do, but a lot of people are afraid to do, especially in the hospitality business. A lot of people are just afraid to spark a conversation with people walking in. So that is something that's easy for me because I'm a very personable person. I just like talking to people.
Tell us about what you've learned about speaking on camera.
You know, speaking on camera, you just have to have fun. You just have to be comfortable, be relaxed, and just allow it to be fluid. But you also have to be aware of what not to say, especially on live television. And your facial expressions are a big key factor in those. Shawn, you've seen my facial expressions.
Tell us a story about live TV. We need to be reminded more than we need to be told.
So the very first time I got put on live TV with Shawn during a news appearance, I had no personality. I seemed like I was mad at the world, and I was acting like a security guard. Exactly. Now I'm very comfortable in front of a camera. Clearly, I do all of our social media videos that are blowing up, and now I just have fun with it. It's very easy to me. It's more fluid every time.
There it is. I appreciate you, Steve. Welcome back. And what can the community do to help you? You put it, if anybody's watching, listening, we have a Slack channel, we have a LinkedIn channel, we have an Instagram channel. If you want to join any of those channels, please send us a message. You can email us podcast@calibbq.media or just message me. But Steven, what can this community do to help you? What are you doing, you and Amanda?
So my fiance and I are in a contest for Variety Magazine for America's Best Couple or Favorite Couple. We have 3 weeks to win the competition, and we need everyone's votes. You can vote every single day using Facebook or the link that I put in the Digital Hospitality Instagram group. But in order for us to win, we had to remain in first place. I think we're in 8th place right now. And the grand prize is a spread in Variety Magazine and $20,000 that we could use towards our wedding, which is in December. So any help will be mighty grateful and appreciated.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Doing it now.
Look at that.
You're amazing, Troy.
Troy's
Doing it right now.
America's favorite couple. There it is. Steven Swiderski and Amanda. Bruce, you're up. Who are you? What are you working on a Wednesday? And share a story about public speaking, what you've learned.
Sure. I'm Bruce Nelson, restaurant CFO. Right now, I'm working on getting restaurants re-excited about looking at their menus and how they're pricing them. Public speaking for me is always tough. I was terrified by it and couldn't do it for many, many years. It's interesting. I can do conversations like this all day long. Being on podcasts where there's give and take, no problem with the ideas coming to my head. Put me in front of 500 people on a panel where the crowd is asking questions, not a problem. It's the solo, whether it's solo in front of a camera, solo up in front of a crowd. And of course, I'm a restaurant finance guy, so you know, nobody really wants to sit and listen to me talk about numbers. You know, everybody's eyes just go blank when I do that. So coming up with content to hold a crowd for 20 minutes to talk about important things like finance is tough. I think the best thing that happened to me after someone watched me stiffly present on a menu uh, concept presentation I did about a year ago is they gave me a book called Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. And if anybody can remember him, back when he would introduce Apple stuff, I mean, people would sign up months in advance, and he'd pack those halls as he would go in and give his presentation on whatever new Apple product. So I read that book, and there is actually some really great information in there. He breaks it down into how long a crowd will hold on to a concept, and if you recall, about 7 minutes into every Steve Jobs performance, he'd put a video up on the screen. And that was because they determined that at that point, the crowd needs like an intermission. And he'd throw some video on there, then he'd go back to his presentation. So anyway, having read that book and then trying to incorporate that into my public speaking, I think has made it better. We'll have to see what my crowd says.
Do you play a video in the middle of your speech?
I do actually. I'll go find a YouTube or something that matches what I'm talking about and just give them a chance. Say, hey, watch this, and then I'll try to dovetail off that.
Interesting. Very cool. Appreciate that, Bruce. Elizabeth
No
Doss,
problem.
who are you? What are you working on a Wednesday? And tell us a story about public speaking.
Yeah, sure. Elizabeth Doss. I'm a social media consultant as well as social media manager, but I work mainly with animated GIFs and helping brands leverage that weird little corner of the internet. And today I'm working on illustrations for a internationally known jewelry brand, and I'm excited someday to be able to tell some of that story of how I was able to dive deep instead of just making silly little pictures. We're able to tell part of the story of the brand in some of what we're doing. So I'm really excited about getting to tell that story some point soon. Okay, so public speaking, yes. So as a PK, pastor's kid, I hear Dean talking about speaking in churches, and my childhood and growing up. I had to get used to speaking in front of the congregation, whether it was my dad doing home visits, which I think Bruce was talking about the solo visits, because he would ask me to sing to people in their homes, they're sick, in the hospital rooms and all these places. And so I had to get over the nervousness, but it was easy. I found it was easier to sing to a crowd than it was to one person and to speak to, many rather than just one, especially when you're talking about deeper things and stuff like that. Anyway, so I will say I did a lot of performances and theater as a kid. So that is some skills that really helped. Being able to understand enunciation, facing the crowd seems to be a big deal too. Like when not to turn away or to make eye contact. Or here's one of the tips that I did learn, especially when I'm speaking, is I will look right above people's heads, just so it feels like I'm making eye contact. But if you do make contact, sometimes it's distracting or like can take over. And so I will look right above people's heads to pretend like I'm looking at them and not necessarily getting wrapped in that. But I will say, so story wise, I had an unusual experience last week. My husband has been taking on a project for a sister church of ours. A friend of ours, the pastor, is retired, and they're going back and listening to old messages of his, and they're going to be building an older a podcast or like an archive of his messages, but he has cassette tapes that he's listening to. And so I actually interned at this church right after I left college. So he pops in a tape, and it's the first sermon that I had ever given. And it was over 20 years ago, hearing my tiny little voice come through the tape and speaking. I'm like, what did I even know then that to bring a sermon? But anyway, it was feisty, and I was getting after something like that was going on. And but it was just fascinating to hear myself. But again, what caught in me was the stories that I told even in that. And so that idea of saying that the memorable parts may not necessarily be the lessons. I mean, they are, but like the story, our brains are wired to receive information through story. And I've been reading a book by Matthew Dix called Storyworthy. And yes, it's amazing.
I'm listening to it for free on Spotify.
That's amazing.
Matthew Dix, he's the man, 100%.
And if you go to YouTube, you can watch some of his stories. He does story competitions where like the Moth is Grand Slam master or something, where they compete telling stories, which is hilarious. But he talks about, there it is.
Stories sell.
And he does this really amazing thing about telling you to just start capturing your stories, even like the little moments and the things that happen, and understand that every story has a moment of transformation, of emotion, or of belief. And how can you mine almost the Aesop fable of it? How can you mine the transformation part that happened for you or for someone else in the stories that you tell? So I highly recommend just go on YouTube and search and listen to some of his stories, and even check out the book. Last thing I wanted to share about public speaking is I had I won't call her a friend because we were in competition in college. We were both sopranos. We were usually competing for the same roles. Like we weren't buddies. And she would say the same now. But her fiance was tragically killed in a car accident on Valentine's Day. He was out getting her a gift and hydroplaned and was gone instantly. And I knew that if she came back to school, I had no idea what she was going through. But if she came back to finish the semester, we had a lot of the same classes. And so I knew I just wanted to help her finish the semester. So I wasn't there to counsel. I wasn't there to understand. I was trying to be kind, but I was help her do her homework, write her papers. But she had public speaking as her one of her classes, which she could barely lift up her head, let alone stand in front of people at the time. And I remember she and I sitting down, and I said to her, Anna, do you want to get an A in public speaking? Because the last speech she had to give was her persuasive speech. And she's like, sure. So I wrote her speech for her. But because her, sorry about the noise, try to turn it off. But because her fiance, it was a brain injury, and he was an athlete, almost all of his organs were harvested and used to save lives. And so we did a persuasive speech about organ donation. And I finished out her speech that his eyes are still seeing, his heart is still beating, and just went through and everyone in there, because it was a small college, so everybody knew Erin anyway. Not a dry eye in the place. And yes, she did get an A. But the point of that is that rather than it just being a persuasive speech outside of her experience or other things, we brought in the story of her life and what she was going through, even in those moments. And it was healing for her also to think through that part of things. And so sometimes you don't know what part of the story is going to touch someone to alter their transformation or their moments. And so anyway, I just was thinking about that. I'll hand it back to you, Shawn.
Elizabeth, that's a great example. And the book that you mentioned, The Stories Sell by Matthew Dix, the foreword is actually written by a woman that hired him to help her with Slack. So she was a product manager for Slack, and she needed to sell Slack in a way that, because Microsoft built a competing product that they were giving out for free. So ultimately, she was like, how do you compete against free ice cream? Like, if you go into the freezer and it's bad ice cream, but like it's free, like it's still free ice cream. So, but like Matthew helped her personalize the story. And she talks about the fear of like, why does anyone in this company going to give a shit about like my personal story? But to the point, like he helped her through that. And then not only did she start working, like crushed the presentation for her Slack, but once Salesforce purchased Slack, she started doing work for Salesforce. And just the power of stories, personal stories in a business setting, which is so unexpected. You know, we're used to decks and demos and graphs and all the stuff that is just not memorable and nobody remembers it. But if you tell a personal story that actually connects to the business principles, it's very memorable. Troy Hooper, welcome back. We missed you. I'm glad my shaming text at least got one person onto the call.
No. You'll see in the text. I didn't see that till I got here. I was coming anyway.
Oh, you were coming anyway.
Making the time, showing up. It's been too long. I need it. I need this injection of community. I miss it.
What do you think before you get into your intro, what you're working on? What do you think of our idea? Will your franchise systems AI? Will you guys come for our Friday show and pitch the community? On Fridays, we're going to start doing
I had not heard this. This is fantastic.
Hospitality technology pitching. So like anyone that has a technology company, they're going to get the first 10 minutes to go through their deck, their demo, hopefully a story, and pitch the community. And then our community is going to give them live feedback of like, this is where we think you're doing well. This is what resonates. Don't do this. But that's going to be what the
Friday show. I got to flex a little muscle here. I am the first person not a part of the Cali Barbecue team to ever show up to this call when it started on Clubhouse as your staff meeting. I am the first. So I would appreciate being one of the first vendor partners
you 100% will be you.
And it won't be me. It won't be me. It'll be Erin.
Even better.
And she'll do it, and it'll be great.
You can help her. You can help her prepare, but this is going to start in September. So we're starting with our community.
She's got plenty of time. She can do it right now. I can put her on right now. She'll do it.
We're starting with the community. So anyone in the community that has a technology that they're offering to the hospitality business.
Well, I'm glad Matt Wampler's not here. He's missing out completely.
Yeah, he's going down the list. He's going to be after you. We're going to see. We're going to see who
show up to get those slots. You know.
Yeah, you got to show up to get those slots. But more importantly, you're going to get real, live, honest feedback. As Troy, somebody that's sat in, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of technology demonstrations. You know what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's going to be a valuable exercise for the community and help with our deep thesis. So go ahead, Troy.
Super quick introduction. Troy Hooper, CEO of Hot Palate America, parent holding company of Pepper Lunch Restaurants, co-CEO of Pepper Lunch Restaurants Worldwide. 548 stores open in 17 countries and about to unleash an ungodly number of countries, apparently. Just got a call that we may be in Italy before we're in the UK. So things are going fast. Things are happening crazy. I don't mind going to Italy. I'm definitely happy to go to Italy. No offense, London, but my God, let's go. Anyway, I have a podcast, a Pineapple Perspective, and a bunch of other stuff. Fingers are in a lot of things across the hospitality spectrum. As Shawn said, I've got involvement at some deep levels with some franchise software as well. But anyway, what's the topic? We're talking about storytelling. What are we talking about?
Today we're talking about public speaking.
Yeah.
Bring us back to the beginning, like the Procter Gamble. Is that right? Was that?
No, we got to go back to childhood. Troy, you talk too much.
Better.
You talk too much. You're too loud. My God, your mouth is going to get you in trouble one day. And all through my 20s, it got me in trouble all the time. I could put this size 12.5 shoe in my mouth all day long and chew on it. No problem, because I'm good at putting my foot in my mouth. But as you get older, you get wiser, you get more calm. Maybe you think a little bit before you speak. So hopefully I'm doing a better job at that. But look, you would think this guy who you see all over camera and all has no nerves, has just always been like this. The reality is, in junior high school, I took debate, speech and debate. I took theater, and I was horrible. I was terrible. I was terrified. I had a 6th grade teacher that would make us, I think probably quarterly, at least 2-3 times a year, memorize the speech. I had to memorize the Gettysburg Address and say it in front of the class. Oh my God. Next to jumping off a cliff, that's the worst thing I could have thought of. And I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, it's just reps, right? It's just reps. So one of my first jobs while in college, after cooking before Procter and Gamble, I was a salesman. I was part of a new co-op in selling group packages, memberships. And it was pretty much, do it or die, do it or starve, right? Like, this is how you're going to make money, dude. You got to stand in front of a room of 10 or 12 or 30 business owners, and you got to tell them why this program matters to them and why they should subscribe and what they're going to get from it. And, early 20s, it made a lot of sense. And I started doing it. It's just reps. One thing I'll say, though, as a piece of advice is I would go to the place, the business. I would arrive 10, 20 minutes or probably 15, 20 minutes early. I would sit in my car across the street in the parking lot, whatever. And I would practice in my head. All right, what's your goal? What is the goal? You walk out of this business in 30 minutes or whatever it is. What is a win? What do the wins look like? And the best win is they buy. And the least win is I didn't get kicked out. I have a chance to come back again and try again, right? And I would sort of set goals in my head. Okay, option A, they don't buy. They're not. Okay, option B, where on the scale can I get them to commit? It's from 0 to 10. If they don't take 10, if I can get them at a 7, man, we're 3/4 of the way there, right? And so that was my mindset sitting in the car before walking in. Then I would mentally practice some like bullet points, lines, pitch, elevator pitch, whatever it is. Practice that and say, all right, this time, this is what I'm going to try. And I would go in and I would try it and I would stick with it. And then when I left, I would say, okay, I tried A, and this is the response I got. This is the kind of people they are. And I basically ended up with 2 or 3 avatars, 2 or 3 types of people I was selling to, and 2 or 3 versions of the pitch that I thought would meet or resonate their need or their interest or where they were in their business at that time. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't reading any books. Nobody was telling me. I was just iterating, just trying, just spitballing, but with intention, with the idea of I'm going to go try something. I fully expect it to fail. If it gives me a 2, that's better than 0. If it gives me a 5, better than, and whatever does the best is going to be like, all right, that's a winning strategy. Let's refine on that. So it's iteration. And so I don't care what business you're in, it's iteration. I'm marketing Pepper Lunch. We're constantly iterating. What happened when we did that? Nobody liked it. Great. What were the variables? Great. Let's try again a new way. Let's keep iterating. Let's keep iterating. Let's try again. Let's do a better job next time. Learn and grow. That's the whole thing. So whether that's speaking in public, speaking on camera, doing a podcast, being a guest on a podcast, whatever your public persona scenario is, you're only going to get better by trying. And look, I am testifying as testifying goes here. Shawn yelled at me for 4 effing years, and the only public speaking I ever did was on Clubhouse or LinkedIn or this. This was it. This was the venue of choice for Troy to public speak. That was it. I wasn't on stage. I wasn't on panels. I wasn't keynoting. And now I almost won't do most conferences if I'm not keynoting. If I don't have my own time slot by myself on stage or with maybe one other person, we're playing off each other. But you grow into that. You get to that. Yeah. People tell me all the time. They told me this week, Troy, you're so good. Like they see me on camera. Like I went to my wine bar, literally put my iPhone on a tripod. My wife held a light. And I was just like, what do we need to talk about? Our wine club, our wine bottle program, our charcuterie trays, our menu. We have events. Great. I went through 20 videos in 15, 20 minutes. And everybody was like, how the hell do you do that? You're so good at that. I'm like, I need to do it. My business needs to grow. It's Shawn. If I don't get on camera, it's going to close. If I don't do something, it's not going to survive. Like this is what's necessary, right? And so that's the motivation for me, but everybody's motivation is different. But most of us are trying to do business, we're trying to grow business, trying to get better at our business. And so that's what I have to say.
I think one of the most powerful things that you share, like that iteration process, it's something we talked a lot about on this show about, I love studying comedians and figuring out how do they go from, little tiny dump hole in the walls where you wouldn't think Chris Rock would show up or Joe Rogan or you name the comedian.
Yeah, they do.
They're putting in the reps, testing the material and figuring out exactly how does the audience respond. And they'll take an hour's worth of material at these little tiny small clubs and they'll get 6 minutes and they'll get rid of the other 54 minutes of material and they'll try new material. And then from that new material, maybe it's 3 minutes or maybe it's another 7, but like then they just compacted. And then all of a sudden they have a Netflix special. They have this beautiful work of art where everything seems perfectly strung together, but you have no idea how many reps they put in to get them to that special. And I think, going through and working with Stover's been helping me with the visual side of my speeches since him and I have started working together, since I, got asked to speak at my first restaurant show. And going through, I always leaned on story and I didn't lean on the visual presentation because I didn't want it to distract me. But what I've started to learn is that there's a visual aid to the story where it's showing, not telling. So I can show a photo, which I'm going to do at the US Food Show, of the Plaza de Toros in Alicante, Spain, which is where my storytelling journey began, because that sets the stage for what is about to come out of my mouth. So I've actually added more slides into my deck, less text, less graphs. I'm
almost all memes at this point. Almost all memes.
Pretty much.
I just put pictures or memes or graphics.
It's a visual cue to the speaker that helps set the stage. And to be honest with what we hope to do with these Friday, technology, pitch your technology, we want to see the best of the best. Like we want to see what are those visual cues? What's the story? Because we know a lot of people in our ecosystem that are building technology companies to help our industry. And we all know how busy restaurant owners are. And if you have great technology, you need to improve that process, right? Yeah. You need to, and to your point, Troy, the reverse engineering of what do I hope? What's the best case scenario that comes out of this speech? What's a middle of the road scenario? What's the worst case scenario? You can't even get to there unless you're doing the reps. You've got to be willing. You got to be willing to do that. And then when you start doing it, to your point, and to anybody that's listening to this, there's lots of conferences that want to do panels, but Troy knows, and I know, I say, I want to speak by myself because it's a challenge to me. And I think it's more valuable to the audience. I could sit on a panel and answer social media questions, but I would much prefer to challenge myself, challenge the audience, challenge the material, challenge the story to give me the microphone by myself and let me see what I can do.
Well, let me say two things. One is when I stopped talking, you started talking, a line came to my mind, which was think less, just do it. Here's the thing I was thinking of. Tomorrow I'll be on camera tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the Rising Tides production crew inside a Pepper Lunch at Irvine Spectrum. And I have some specific things I want to record. I want to record my thank you video to our customers. I want to record my thank you video to our super fans that we're going to send swag boxes and influencer boxes to. I want to record a few things. I want to say a few things to our customers and our franchisees and our employees. And I'll say this. The first take is always the best. Period. End of story.
Always the best.
If you get up there, you're like, look, I just want to say something. Here's the deal. And then if you stumble or you trip or whatever, and then you're like, all right, let's try this again. Then you start thinking, wait, if I'm going to do it again, let me change this word. Forget about it. It's just not just talk from the heart. Just talk with passion. Just talk about what you know. Get the point across. Forget that you're talking to a camera. You're talking to a human. Yep. If you ran into this person and somebody said, Troy, I want you to meet somebody and you tell them what you do, talk like that. What would you do at a party or in a chance encounter or walking through the airport and somebody goes, hey, what's that logo? What do you do? Oh, well, I'm the CEO of Pepper Lunch. Have you ever heard of Pepper Lunch? No, what is that? And you just have a conversation, right? If you do that on camera, that's what resonates. That's what gets people to tune in and listen. And it's the same thing on stage, right? I hate PowerPoints and slideshows, but some of these
Me too.
some of these
brutal.
venues require them. Basically, hey, if you're going to stage, you got to use the $100,000 AV we just gave you. You got to put something up there. And I found that the more that's on that screen, the worse of presentation. I start looking at it. I start reading it. It's terrible. Get it out. Put it behind me. Just put pictures and memes and graphs or graphics up. That, to your point, visual cues, great. But I love raw dogging it, as they say these days. If you said, Troy, get on, the speaker got stuck, the flight was canceled, get on stage and talk about something to this group of people. As long as I knew what generally they might be interested in, I get up there and do 30, 45 minutes, no problem.
Yeah. But that the only reason you can do that is because of the reps. You know,
Thousands.
Putting in the reps on shows like this, on Clubhouse, on camera, doing videos. And like the point of like, once you become a media company, once you are in production, Troy has so many magical moments that will happen throughout his week, throughout his month, where now he's already thinking, well, I already have production time. So if I have production time, as long as I remember this idea of thanking my customers, then it's not a heavy lift because I'm already doing the work anyways. So it's like, how do you build those processes into your storytelling, into your business?
Document, don't produce, right?
100%,
You've always said it, Gary V. I mean, I cannot wait to the day that there is literally somebody sitting here with a camera pointed at me, like D-Rock, you know, it's just like those moments. Because your point is, we're moving fast. I'm talking to a lot of people about a lot of things. I want to remember them. I'm terrible at writing them down, recording them, keeping notes. I'm just terrible at it. But I want to, because I want to remember it 3 weeks later when I could have an opportunity to. And to your point, Shawn, pick up the camera and just record it. You know, I need to get back to that. You know, Troy under a tree. Just go outside and talk about that thing that inspired your thought today, and or that thing you moved the needle on, or whatever.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we're going to have an upcoming call on live streaming. I think that's something that I'm speaking to myself, but there is such a power in live streaming. There's such a power in, like, it's not post-produced, it's live right now. This is a live show. Thank you, Laura, for sending the comments. And actually, we're going to go to Dean. Dean, the best sales story of all time is your pecan story. Will you please share it?
Okay, sure. Back in about 84, but back in 1984, I was working out of a Yellow Page. I was selling paper clips, office supplies, and I called a gal up in New Jersey, not New Jersey, in North Carolina. She was in South Carolina, right there at the North Carolina line. Her name was Wynette, and she had a bookkeeping company. So I called her and said, "Hey, what's going on?" She said, "Oh, Dean, I can't talk to you." I said, "I ain't got time for you today. I don't want to buy nothing." I said, "Well, I knew that when I called you. If you needed something, you would have called me." But she laughed, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "Well, everything, all the pecans, we're in the pecan business. We're a pecan broker." Said, "All the pecans on this side of the Mississippi River dried up. So we ain't got nothing to sell." I said, "Well, I know some people in Texarkana." And she said, "Oh, Dean, you can't get the amount of pecans we need. We need a lot of pecans." I said, "Well, let me make a phone call. So do what I can." Well, I grew up in a place called Hooks, Texas, and up in Hooks, the Ramages, and they have pecan orchards, like 600 acres, and they make a lot of pecans. And I called him about it, and he said, "No," he says, "the amount you're looking for, you need to talk to this guy." So he gave me a guy's name in Texarkana that runs a local pecan harvesting. I called him, and Wynette was willing to pay 98 cents a pound. This guy was willing to sell them at like 69 cents a pound. So I called Wynette and said, "Listen, call this old boy right here." Said he'll get you some pecans, and his price is 69 cents a pound. I said, "Y'all make the deal and do whatever you need to do." She said, "Okay, I appreciate it." So anyway, about 2 weeks later, I got a box delivered to me, and it was 5 pounds of pecans, a $500 check, and a phone book. And so I called her. I said, "What's this about?" She said, "I bought 2 tractor trailer loads of pecans." It said saved her season. I said, "Man, that's great." I said, how you looking on them paper clips? She said, oh no, listen, Dean. She didn't think that was funny. She said, I said, what's with the phone book? She said, well, have you opened it up? I said, yeah. I said, I got the check. I said, what's this about? She said, that's for helping me out. She said, but look at the phone book. I said, okay. So I looked at it, and there were all these names, businesses that were circled. And I said, well, what's this about? She says, I've already talked to all those people. I said, that's everybody in this community that knows me, and they're waiting for you to call them and sell them some paper clips. Said, I appreciate what you've done for me, and you know. Anyway, I didn't have to look for a code lead for like a year and a half. I spent a year and a half on that phone book, and proved it. It got me through a lot of hard times. So anyway, it's a lot of times it's just about doing the right thing. We talk a lot about sales and stuff. Short term, sometimes, that's not the answer. It's a long-term thing. So anyway, that's the story. Laura loves it, and I love that you love it, Laura. Thank you.
Dean, what's so magical about that story, especially from a sales perspective, if I think of like the deepest relationships that I have at Cali Barbecue with US Foods, with Toast, it was the sales reps that it wasn't their job to do what I was asking them to do. And they went out of their way to do something that didn't have to do with Toast or technology, or something that didn't have to do with food purchasing. But like, because of what they did, I'm so loyal to those brands and so excited to talk about those brands and so excited to help them build their business, because they were willing to do the things that I was asking for my business. Laura, welcome. Who are you? What are you working on? And share a story about public speaking. Thank you for reminding. I could hear Dean tell that story every day.
Oh, you and me both. And I have shared that story around the dinner table with my son, who's a budding sales professional, and his friends who are all in sales. And I'm so glad I got to hear it again. I'm going to go back and listen when it's recorded, because knowing the names of the people really helps with the story. And I love this topic of stage theory and storytelling. I've been keeping notes with this group about some of the stories, right? Like Katie the wild pig with the petting zoo, and the world record attempt for the greatest number of people dancing to Michael Jackson's Thriller. So some of these stories that, I've been in sales my whole career. And when a customer has a need, whatever it is, it's, that brainstorming and mind mapping, which Elizabeth spoke about recently. The idea of, in what ways might we help solve this problem? Who do we know? What zany thing could we possibly come up with? And there are no bad ideas. And then, I think what you said, Shawn, about in response to Dean's story, is beyond just the salespeople in our lives that kind of go the extra mile for us. It's also kind of who we would choose to be friends with. Is somebody that heard something in passing that was important to us, or something that we needed, and then out of the blue, we get a text or a call saying, hey, I know you were looking for this, try this person, or just sort of proactively people looking out for us. And when we can do that for each other, and certainly for our customers, it really does build strong relationships. So I believe that showing up is 80% of success. And when we show up consistently, we're unstoppable. In my business, I'm in the business of showing up for my restaurant customers and bringing friends. And by friends, I mean 21 million expense account diners looking for great restaurants to dine in at, carry out from, order catering from, and in some cases, book private events. I'm director of strategic partnerships at a company called DeNova Corporate Dining. And a story on that is just, I do, when we're talking about presentations, and I'm so excited for the chance to get a Shark Tank feedback on my presentation. So sign me up.
You're one of the first.
Thank you. And
100%.
Troy has seen my presentation twice, and he hasn't given me, I really want the hard.
We're going to give you guys the hard truth.
I do. I'm like, please, you're boring me to tears with this. But one thing that I like what you both said about your decks is something that really resonates for me personally when I'm going through my deck. I start out with the top 3 reasons that anyone would want to invest in acquiring more expense account diners. And really, I recommend everybody go to acquisition.com, Alex Hormozy, and learn and watch his free sales training. It's just, what's your total addressable market? Is it a growing, market? If all of these things are true with that he teaches about what you're selling, you really will be unstoppable if you set up your presentation in that way. But again, I just have the top 3 reasons that you want to invest in this. And then it's pictures. It's pictures of DeNova being the only invited restaurant representative for the Gov Travels Expo for the U.S. Department of Defense. It's like, here we are. We're the only ones, and we are there to just show them who their restaurant partners are that have raised their hand and said, yes, I want to be a partner with you, and I'm going to invest in this relationship with you. And hopefully you'll choose my restaurants when you're traveling to the cities that we serve. So just those pictures, and then same goes with the corporate clients, is we're the only invited restaurant representative at those. But again, those visual aids, Shawn, that you talked about, it's really just you're telling your story, and then in the background on the screen is a picture that is authenticating that story.
Yeah.
And it's powerful.
For sure. Well, Laura, we will get you. So anybody that wants to do the Friday show, if you have a hospitality technology company, please email podcast@calibbq.media so we can get you booked for September. We can get your date booked. We can get media assets so we can promote the channel to get more people in the community onto these lives. Laura, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and do tip, takeaway, homework assignment. Spencer, kick us off.
Thank you much. This has been excellent. Troy, your stories were fantastic. And then, I agree with Laura. That's such a great story because it's so authentic. The Dean's story on the pecan story. It's just so authentic and so genuine. And that's exactly where it all comes from. And it was the reciprocity of her coming back saying, I have to do something for Dean because he just was so authentic and genuine and awesome to me that I have to do something. And good for her for doing that, because she could have just taken the 30 cents off and gone away and never speak to you again. But good on, it was Wynette. Yeah, Wynette. Good on her. So takeaways and homework, I guess, we have a giant repository of restaurant tech companies that I'm sure would love to visit on Friday afternoon. So I will be sure to spread the word. You can message me.
We'll create a media, I guess an image, a GIF-ish image to promote the show. How about that? To promote the Friday, pitch the tide. The technology pitches the tide. The technology companies pitch the tide. That'll be the show, and then we can start to get people to sign up. But we definitely want to start with community members that have been showing up for the last 4 years. So if you listen on Digital Hospitality, if you show up, make sure we don't forget anybody, the Jason Berkowitzes of the world. We want an arrow up pitch. We want to hear about it. We want to hear how he pitches restaurants so that we can start to grow this Friday show.
Perfect.
Dean LeBay, you're up. Tip, takeaway, homework assignment.
Takeaway, this is where I'm at every Wednesday till September, then Wednesday and Friday. I get more out of this than anything I do. I'm going to continue to say, if you can, bring somebody with you, because we're all in this together. We're better together. We really are. And rising tide does lift all ships. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you, Dean. Troy Hooper.
Well, just glad to be back in everyone's presence. Missed you guys. Just don't overthink it. Don't shoot for the stars. Just try it, do it, practice it, get out there, do it live. The mirror is not going to give you feedback. So go have a conversation with somebody, tell them what you do, what you're trying to accomplish, what your goals are, how they might be able to help you. Let the universe connect the dots, and just get out there and start yammering your mouth off and see what happens.
Amazing. Thank you. Bruce Nelson.
Yeah, takeaway today. I'm actually plowing through all my social media just to analyze what hit and what didn't. Interestingly, a throwaway post I did on Ricky Gervais in 2020 outperformed every other post by 914 times. The second strongest one was a thing I did on Billy Joel and Piano Man. So just reiterating that it certainly seems like stories way outperform other kind of content. So hopefully I can build that into how I post on social media. I really appreciate this community for all it's taught me.
Yeah, leveraging things that people are familiar with and tying them into restaurant finance is something that's really interesting, because then you get the attention, and nobody's explained any of those things in the lens of the financial lens for restaurants. And great insights, Bruce. Elizabeth, you're up.
Thanks a lot.
And I'm really glad that you said that, because it's taking those stories, Bruce, and using them as analogies, and you can use them to bridge back to the subject that you actually want to talk about. And so these stories don't necessarily have to be yours if you don't know how to tell your own stories yet. But like Laura was saying, start collecting stories. So she's collected the pecan story, and just, the orange tree story from Cali Barbecue, and all of these things. And I really enjoyed Troy. Like, I felt like, because you said you've been doing this, and like it's coming out. That's like what I love, Troy, about what you're doing is that, yes, you have a product to sell, but the philosophy and the things behind it are going to help so many people. And so I'm so excited that you're finding these platforms. And I just really feel like you're going to be able to unleash a whole new crop of people to get out there and do stuff. And same, with what everyone. And so I say that, and then I turn that to Spencer and say, this is the power that you have, Spencer, is to get out there and start transforming people's thinking through you showing up on social media and in these places, and finding what's the easiest access route for you is the best way to go. Because I think live streaming for some is the lowest barrier of entry, because you don't overthink it. And like Troy said,
no post-production needed.
Exactly. And that first take is it. I mean, having worked with clients trying to get them to tell their stories, many times it's the first take, and I just delete the rest of it because you did the job, correctly. So anyway, so awesome conversation. I really enjoyed it today. Back to you, Shawn.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, Elizabeth. Laura, you're up.
Homework assignment for myself is to read the book. I think you said it's called Stories Sell. Is that right?
Do you have Spotify? Yes. If you have Spotify Premium, it's actually available for free, or with Spotify Premium. It's called Stories Sell, and it's by Matthew Dix.
Yeah. And he also has one called Story Worthy that helps you collect and craft your story, just stories in general. Anyway, and so, but the Story Sell is where he goes in deeper with the brands and stuff that he's worked with. So,
so good. And also would love some, more ideas on going live or live streaming from the community. I shared with you all last week that Instagram changed their requirements. You have to be a public account with at least 1,000 followers to be able to go live on Instagram now. I was able to switch to public and go live, but it's a little glitchy. I had to turn off my phone and do a few things that Elizabeth recommended. So that's kind of hit and miss. Facebook seems to be really easy to go live on, but where else are you going live, people?
TikTok.
Okay.
YouTube. Yep. I think YouTube might need 1,000 also.
I think you do.
I don't know if you need, well, you may need it now, but I know you have to have a month on YouTube and active, and like they're wanting to make sure that you're actually active on their posting videos, etc. To do that. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing. Once again, thank you, Mike Biseglia, for producing. Thank you guys for showing up. Spencer, Dean, Troy, Bruce, Elizabeth, Laura, Steven, and everyone else. We appreciate you. We will see you next Wednesday. Mike, I believe, will be hosting. I will be in Las Vegas anyone that's going to the U.S. Food Show or knows anyone that's going to the U.S. Food Show, please tell them to reach out to me because I would love to meet up with them. Thank you. Appreciate you all.
Thanks all.
You guys.